Most men read Proverbs once and forget it by Monday. But there are 5 proverbs that if you actually lived by them, it would completely change how you think, lead, and make decisions. These aren't feel-good verses. They're sharp, uncomfortable, and most men avoid them because they expose what's broken. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll know which proverbs separate weak men from strong ones. The book of Proverbs was written to make men wise, not educated, but wise. There's a difference. You can know a lot and still make terrible decisions. You can be smart and still destroy your life. Wisdom is the ability to see reality clearly and act accordingly. And most men today are operating on feelings, trends, and impulses, but not wisdom. The proverbs I'm about to show you will expose that. They'll challenge how you think about success, control, relationships, and strength. If you apply them, your life will change. If you ignore them, nothing will. And one of these proverbs is the most dangerous verse in the Bible for men who refuse to be corrected. We'll get to that. Proverb 1, the foundation of strength. Proverbs 16:32 says, "Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city." This verse destroys the modern idea of strength. Culture says strength is dominance, aggression, imposing your will. But this proverb says the opposite. The strongest man is not the one who conquers others, it's the one who conquers himself. Think about that. You can build a business, lead a team, win arguments, but if you cannot control your anger, your lust, your impulses, you are weak. Self-control is the highest form of power. A man who cannot rule his own spirit will eventually destroy everything he builds. His marriage, his reputation, his legacy. You've seen it. The man who has everything but loses it all because he couldn't control himself. That's why this proverb is first. Because without self-control, nothing else holds. If you can master your reactions, your emotions, your desires, you become dangerous to chaos. But here's the problem. Most men think they have self-control until pressure reveals that they don't. That's where the next proverb becomes critical. Because it's not just about controlling yourself. It's about choosing your battles wisely. And most men are fighting the wrong ones. Proverb 2, strategic silence. Proverbs 26:4 says, "Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself." This is one of the most misunderstood proverbs, and one of the most powerful. It's teaching you when not to engage. Not every argument deserves a response. Not every insult needs to be answered. Not every foolish opinion needs to be corrected. Most men waste energy fighting battles that don't matter. Someone disrespects you online. Someone questions your decisions. Someone challenges your manhood. And you feel the need to prove yourself. But this proverb says, don't lower yourself to engage with foolishness. A fool operates on emotion, ego, and noise. If you respond on his level, you become like him. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to stay silent. Proverbs 29:11 confirms this. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. Silence is not weakness, it's control. The man who can remain silent when provoked is more powerful than the man who always needs the last word. Learn to let foolishness expose itself. You don't need to respond to everything. Now, before we go further, pause and ask yourself, which of these 2 proverbs have you violated in the last week? Did you lose control when you should have stayed calm? Did you engage when you should have stayed silent? That's the test. Proverbs aren't just information. They're mirrors. Proverb 3, the danger of pride. Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." You've heard this verse before, but have you actually applied it? Pride is the most deceptive sin because it doesn't feel like sin. It feels like confidence. It feels like strength. It feels justified. But pride blinds you. It makes you think you don't need advice, that you don't need correction. that you're above accountability. And that's when you fall. Every man who has destroyed his life did it with pride. The man who cheated on his wife thought he wouldn't get caught. The man who ignored wise counsel thought he knew better. The man who refused to change thought he didn't need to. Pride makes you unteachable. And an unteachable man is a dangerous man, not to others, but to himself. Here's the test. When was the last time you admitted you were wrong? When was the last time you asked for help? When was the last time you submitted to correction? If you can't answer that, pride has you. Proverbs 11:2 says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom." Humility is not weakness. It's the willingness to see reality clearly, even when it exposes you. These first 3 proverbs deal with how you handle yourself, your emotions, your responses, and your ego. But the next 2 shift focus, because wisdom isn't just internal, it's relational. And this is where most men fail. They can control themselves, but can't discern who they're walking with. Proverb 4. Choose your circle carefully. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." You become like the people you spend time with, not sometimes, but always. If you surround yourself with undisciplined men, you will become undisciplined. If you surround yourself with men who compromise, you will compromise. If you surround yourself with men who avoid responsibility, you will avoid responsibility. This is not optional. It's how influence works. You can have all the self-control in the world, but if your closest friends are pulling you toward foolishness, you will eventually follow. Proverbs 22, verses 24 and 25 goes further and says, "Make no friendship with a man given to anger, nor go with a wrathful man, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. Notice the warning, you will learn his ways." Not might, but you will. Your circle is not neutral. It's either sharpening you or dulling you. That's why you need to evaluate. Who are you walking with? Are they making you wiser or weaker? Are they pushing you toward God or pulling you away? If the men around you don't challenge you, correct you, or sharpen you, you're in the wrong circle. Iron sharpens iron, but rust spreads faster. Proverb 5, the most dangerous verse. Here it is. The proverb most men hate. Proverbs 12:1 says, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid." The Bible doesn't say foolish, it says stupid. That's how serious this is. If you refuse correction, you are not just wrong, you are actively destroying yourself. This is the proverb that separates men who grow from men who stay stuck. Discipline hurts. Correction is uncomfortable. Accountability feels restrictive. But the man who runs from it never becomes who he was meant to be. Proverbs 15:32 confirms it. "Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence." When you reject correction, you are rejecting growth. You are choosing to stay the same. And a man who refuses to grow is a man who will fail. The strongest men are the most correctable. They don't need to defend themselves. They don't need to justify their mistakes. They listen, they adjust, and they improve. That's wisdom. If you can't handle correction, you will never reach your potential. These 5 proverbs are not suggestions. They are the framework for a life that stands. You were created to be a man who controls himself, chooses his battles wisely, rejects pride, surrounds himself with the wise, and loves correction. That's how a biblical man should be. Not loud, not defensive, not fragile, but steady, disciplined, humble, and strong. When you live by these proverbs, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop defending and start improving. You stop drifting and start building. Here's what you should do today. Pick one of these proverbs. Write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. Then ask yourself, where am I violating this? Not in theory, but in reality. Where did you lose control this week? Where did you engage a fool? Where did pride blind you? Who are you walking with? When did you reject correction? Answer honestly, then act. If this message challenged you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel if you choose wisdom over comfort. Like and share if this message helps you. Spread this if you think other men need to hear it. Comment below, which proverb convicted you most? This channel is for men who refuse to stay the same, men who choose discipline, men who live by truth. Proverbs are not motivational quotes. They are the blueprint for a life that lasts.